Haruto was a depressed idiot whose girlfriend died because of his stupidity. Years later, in a hyper-realistic RPG, he finds her alive but trapped in the game. Now he needs to get her out to abroad again in real life. The Union game, young players notice someone accepted a high-level mission, very difficult. This mission is especially hard because players whose HP reaches 0 there is no way to revive or log in again. Elsewhere, it is revealed that the Subaru group accepted this united group of friends is led by a leader with exceptional combat skills and by Vice Captain Takanori, a divine champion. They also have Satsuki, a mage with powers to control all the elementals in the game, Metamorph, and Nozomi, Dream Mage. What stands out to Subaru is Asahi, tied with the power to see the future. Easily overcomes this difficult mission. Haruto gives the final blow, and the other members pose. The group returns to the base to talk. Asahi suggests that they face a new mission that no one has ever completed. The last team to try this challenge lasted only 10 seconds. Haruto, always eager for challenges, says they must be the first to beat the boss. Before they leave, Satsuki pulls him aside and gives him a cute ring. Haruto, with the sociability of an autistic child, asks why she gives him the gift. Tries to hide that she likes him, wanted him to have it because she doesn't use it. On the other hand, the eccentric Asahi observes this and wants them to be together forever. Everyone shares this feeling, but Clive adds that she can't be with the group because she lives in another country. Shortly after, everyone goes to a market where they buy items for this new mission. Everyone is busy buying, but Satsuki notices that Haruto and Asahi have around and soon finds them in the forest. Satsuki was going to call them, that she has invaded, and she silently observes behind the tree Haruto putting Satsuki's ring on Asahi's finger. After a while, the group heads to the nearby where the mission will take place. This mission presents no challenge. They quickly eliminate all the monsters that are lurking. As a true fan, Haruto believes in the group's success, of Asahi's profit, the unique ability to see the near future. This is almost like a cheating code in the game, undoubtedly makes Subaru the best team around. It is obvious that Takanori is growing closeness between Haruto and Asahi. After defeating the smaller villains, the group reaches the final main boss, Purgatorio, to pure darkness. This magical entity has many huge swords floating. Some members of the group are nervous, but reminds them that they are the undefeated Subaru. Asahi then uses her powers to warn them of the boss's next attack. Haruto and Takanori follow the front line to face the boss. Takanori uses her powers to spray the Purgatory, but fails as the villain regenerates. Seeing this, Satsuki and Clive try to flank the enemy, while Nozomi invokes a giant bird with his power. The plan seems to work, as Clive manages to delay the monster with his daggers. Haruto runs to end the fight, although Takanori warns him not to be so shrewd. Unfortunately, Haruto's hasty decision leaves Nozomi. The villain takes the opportunity to direct one of his swords at Nozomi, who is unaware of focusing on invoking his bird. Realizes his mistake and runs back to protect the team's dream. He manages to deflect most of the swords, for one, which throws him several meters away. In this process, he loses the ring that Asahi leads. The boss sees their incompetence and fires a powerful laser when the team's leader is about to turn into a burnt toast. Asahi pushes the laser, hits his chest, and his game avatar disappears into thin air. Can't believe they just lost to the final boss. Back in the real world, the group runs to Asahi's house. Reply to messages after dying in the game. To everyone's horror, they find Asahi's terrified mother saying that Asahi is dead. The next day, the devastated group goes to the funeral. It turns out that Asahi suffered a severe heart for being afraid of dying in the game. After the ceremony, the groups go out to find Haruto alone in the rain. Takanori occupies him with anger, making him dive into misery. 6 years later, Haruto, already an adult, forgiven himself for the tragic event, spends most of the days locked in his room, like a morning bread, without playing video games. One day, when he sees the news that the game finds out has been updated to a reunion system, that is, not everyone has access to the game. Only players with a natural attribute known as sense can participate in the game. Haruto doesn't want to go back to this stupid place where he lost his first love. The game and need one more to close. They ask Haruto to join them, and after hours of pleading, he finally agrees. After suffering the disappointment, Haruto on his account again and is immediately accepted at the meeting. He then joins two of his new friends in the virtual reality, and they leave immediately for the mission. Soon it becomes clear that Haruto's new friends don't even know how to first play. Mission in an initiating dungeon. They run away when they see two bat monsters. Fortunately, Haruto rescues them and cuts the beasts easily with his sword. At this moment, something very strange happens. The whole dungeon begins begins to turn into a bluish tunnel. Haruto is also a little worried because he can't feel any monsters around. Through the tunnel, where they find a wooden box. Being the only fighter in the group, a step forward and carefully opens the box to the ground when he sees Asahi sleeping calmly inside it. Seconds later, opens her eyes and calls Haruto by his name. Haruto doesn't believe Asahi is still in despite the fact that she died in real life. She really is Asahi, but she only acts like a girlfriend because she has no idea. After a brief chat, the other two players leave to the guild, while Haruto and Asahi leave. Haruto is still intrigued about how Asahi ended up the discussion. In the game. He notices something shocking. Asahi believes it is still the day of her failed mission from 6 years ago. She's been in a trance for 6 years, completely alien to the passage of time and reality. Asahi thinks Haruto is just playing as she can't understand what's going on. Haruto accuses her of being an imposter. Asahi insists she's the same person he was with yesterday. To prove she was wrong, Haruto asks her to check the date herself. She thinks the year is 2034, but so Asahi tries to leave the game, but the logout icon is frozen. The duo then checks Haruto's settings and sees that works well, as he can leave without any problems. Asahi realizes that the defect only affects her and believes she's stuck in the game. With Windows 7 with Asahi, who remains childish and worried even after knowing the truth. Unlike her friends who grew up and went to college, Asahi is still an immature high school she was stuck student. In the past. Asahi contacts the operator about her account. The system informs her it's unregistered. Haruto repeats the classic one-night-only phrase, "Things are not the same anymore." He reveals that 6 years have passed since they saw her. She died right after the last mission. For Haruto, the problems continue. A rival guild from the original Union game and tries to take Asahi from them. Leonovich wants Asahi in his guild for her talent. Everyone turns a blind eye when he hits them with declaring he won't leave. However, without Asahi firmly refuses and says she's part of only one team. She is still confident that her boyfriend go of his pipe as usual and defeat the villains. Unfortunately, Haruto no longer has senses in this beginner-level scenario and can't finish off to attack several dominated and humiliated in front of his girl. Asahi activates her senses. Haruto no longer has his, but Asahi still keeps them. However, even with his efforts, the stupid duo still loses to his former guild member, Takanori. Guild and Illuminati teleport and defeat the rival guild, who still has good sense, easily humiliates, causing his clothes to magically disappear. After the victory, Takanori is radiant when he sees Asahi is still angry with Haruto and doesn't want to talk to him. When Haruto asks how he can believe Asahi is real, Takanori slaps him, as if his existence didn't matter. He insists on taking Asahi, but when she invites Haruto, Takanori is very evident that Takanori still blames what happened so many years ago. Asahi is confused with their discussion and refuses to leave without Haruto. Takanori realizes that the girl doesn't like him, so he leaves, disappointed. Haruto then gives Asahi the news that Subaru no longer exists. To his surprise, in the real Asahi doesn't seem bothered by anything. Instead, she enthusiastically suggests they reform and reunite the Subaru team again. After leaving the game, Haruto's friend Satsuki visits him. When they are safe in the room, Haruto tells Asahi that in the game and that she is still alive. Satsuki reveals that he also joined the reunion account and has been playing for a few days. When Haruto says he doesn't want and handed Asahi to Takanori's guards, he admits having left Asahi behind and now wants to pay the bill. Firmly tells him that he needs to face and cannot continue to run away from it. Satsuki returns to the game and finds Asahi on the doesn't seem surprised. She notices that Satsuki has changed physically. In turn, is shocked that Asahi has not, neither physically nor mentally. Then reveals the truth. Asahi died during their last mission, and she even appeared at the funeral. Explains that Asahi cannot leave. She has no body to return to. Asahi is briefly disappointed, had heard that today's weather would be bad. Instead of knowing about her own death, quickly recovers and assures Satsuki that she is alive. Suddenly, members of the enemy guild surround the two and try to capture Asahi again. This time, Satsuki acts, summoning his countless elementals, the enemies with the powerful magic of the earth. The villains in retreat plot how to capture Asahi next time. Takanori from the Illuminati Guild arrives and swearing that she will never let them mess with Asahi again. The protector lover is clearly jealous of the girl who never cared about him. On the other hand, The trio of Satsuki and Asahi return to their base. They return to the place, and Haruto finds the ring that, which was forgotten years before, unfortunately sees her only as a friend. Asahi looks for his old Haruto things. Also wanders and finds himself in a mysterious, where he meets a dark girl named Alicia. She seems to know Asahi and talks about her art of prophecy. Haruto realizes that she can read his thoughts, which suggests that she is an empath. If she is like Asahi, but Alicia explains although her powers work on people, Asahi's art of prophecy is much more powerful and she warns him that Asahi's meaning is not recognized meanings in the world, and that he must protect her. Are coming and are aiming at her from the shadows. Meanwhile, Satsuki's jealousy dominates her. Asahi to get away from accusing him of being the cause of Haruto's cold personality. Satsuki tells Asahi what Haruto has become over the years, even calling it a game bug or simple residual data. Asahi defends himself in tears, pointing that he never did anything wrong. The discussion quickly intensifies. Haruto intervenes and reprimands them for acting as if they were so frustrated with the fight, he rages. Back in the real world, Satsuki visits Haruto's house and apologizes for his behavior in the game. Haruto is confused and does not fully understand what she is trying to say. Of the promise he made 6 years ago, when she expresses her fear of losing Haruto to a middle-aged girl. This time she intends to fight for his love. Soon turns out that the rings were actually each member of the Subaru group, and each had their own. Haruto suddenly remembers his promise to Asahi and runs outside to find he finds him buried and exchanges rings with Asahi in real life. He encourages Satsuki to return to the meeting can help him keep his promise to Asahi, protecting him at all costs. Meanwhile, Takanori is also back in the real and secretly visits Asahi's grave. In the game, Haruto and Asahi adventure to collect materials for a tree monster. Satsuki arrives a little late, which gives Haruto some time alone to play, but not the way she would like. During the mission, Asahi falls while into trying to recover the gem they need, soaked and takes off her clothes to dry nervous herself. When he sees her naked, but and immediately diverts his gaze. Moment makes Asahi jump, provoking him and encouraging him to look at Suddenly, 7 other players arrive. Haruto tries to cover Asahi, but the players playing more embarrassing by suggesting that the two of them arrange a room. In the heat of the moment, Haruto hugs Asahi, making her feel apologizes for not believing in her and promises to protect her. After these intimate moments, they forge a party ring. Asahi tries to give the ring to Haruto to put it on, and instead he slips the ring on her finger. They meet Satsuki, who is visibly jealous, in the hand of his enemy Asahi. Knowing that it was Haruto himself who put it to fall behind, Satsuki leaves the same material and forge a ring for herself. Instead of feeling offended, sees this as a positive sign. That the group is finally starting, and the rings are a symbol of their trio. Rebirth. Then decides to enter where they had their last mission years ago, answers about Asahi's lost memory. Inside the dungeon, they meet Alice. She summons the powerful master of the dungeon, who eliminated Asahi in the past, not allowing them a choice but to fight. After years of the incident that separated the trio unites to bring him down. Satsuki like a boy summons elementals, but the Purgatory's magic barrier repels. She hurts herself in the battle, her legs very hurt. When Haruto runs to help her, he is also driven away by Purgatory. Now it's up to the small and fragile Asahi to save her friends. She continues to fight alone with bravery, attacking the boss. Despite the efforts, she can't defeat him and ends up being immobilized. At that moment, Haruto notices his old group ring. He realizes that this is why he couldn't use his sensory, because his powers in the game come from the ring. Satsuki and Asahi, who used his, kept their abilities. He quickly takes the ring and puts it on his finger, and as expected, his powers return. His senses awaken and he strengthens as the youngest brother of a young man at dawn. With renewed strength, Haruto releases all his power and defeats Purgatory, protecting Asahi and Satsuki. Shortly after leaving the dungeon, the three discuss they can find the other members of Subaru. Satsuki suggests that only Takanori can contact them. He doesn't want to help, as he holds grudge as a child. Asahi, with her silly attitude, guarantees everything will be fine and that they will meet soon. Haruto sees her as a child and provokes her slightly. At that moment, one of her artifacts is released. Satsuki notices and runs to get it, but Asahi faints immediately. They catch her and try to help, but Haruto and Satsuki begin to have altered visions. These visions give cryptic clues about the truth of Asahi's existence and what may have happened in the last 6 years. Then arrives at the inn where Asahi is staying. There they discover that rumors of his conquest of Purgatory in the dungeon spread like a pandemic in everyone faces them and gossip, which makes them and they quickly retreat to Asahi's room. They discuss how they can further investigate Asahi's memory. Asahi remains focused on bringing the Subaru group together. They must unite before facing more battles. Suggests contacting an informant he uses elementary relatives and shares the vision. They set off on their journey to find her. However, in the middle of the way, the guild arrives in the city and surrounds them. Haruto does not recognize the group, so Satsuki explains that many Union version of the game survived. These guilds are considered superior. Nori, for example, belongs to the most powerful guild, although the Illuminati tries to avoid conflicts. The leader of the guild, Medus, who is a real nuisance, he surrounds him with his army and demands that they hand over villains before him. He wants to acquire his prophetic art. Asahi refuses to go with him, and his friends by his side, ready to defend her. At this moment, another elite guild, the Society, also arrives at the battlefield. This forces the Southern Cross to retreat for now. Brilla's leader, Angelus, seems to have a tense past with Medus. Angelus warns him to leave Asahi and Subaru he will launch a devastating battle against him. Fearing what Angelus would do, Medus sticks his legs and orders the army to retreat. After the danger, Angelus approaches Haruto and invites him to join the Brilla Society. Protect Asahi in exchange for their loyalty. However, Asahi declares loyalty to the Subaru team and even shows his childlike tongue. Naruto and Satsuki also refuse the offer, choosing to support Asahi without resistance, but that they will meet again in the future. Meanwhile, Alice is seen spying on the group, although they do not notice her presence. Elsewhere, Take Nori monitors the group's movements. He is clearly dissatisfied with the other superior guilds to take Asahi and swears he will not allow it. In the real world, Haruto invites Satsuki as he wants to spend more money unnecessarily in game hardware for the meeting. Is disappointed to see that he does not clearly like him, but the Haruto nerd doesn't seem to notice. Irritated after shopping, he takes her to lunch to make up for it. At the restaurant, Haruto says he tried to drive by an old email, but he only made a mistake. Also tried to found out that she studies at another school. Food arrives, but it's just a cake and some sweets. Haruto asks how she has lunch, but Satsuki explains she will have diabetes even before adolescence ends. Haruto then mentions Asahi, and her dream is to eat a mountain of chantilly. He always relates everything to Asahi, which frustrates Satsuki. She leaves the restaurant and leaves. The next day in the game, Haruto logs in later than usual. Asahi asks where he was, but Haruto deviates and focuses on the mission. Asahi when his senses activated. She remembers it was in the Tower of Heaven, a castle in the game. Satsuki, in turn, is withdrawn and quiet in the discussion. Finally, Haruto, Satsuki and Asahi decide to enter the Tower of Heaven. At lower levels was difficult. They defeat the first crawling enemy, the pill from a child, and then reach the boss's dungeon. Boss is much stronger now. In the first round, Haruto and Asahi defend and throw their best initial attack. The boss enters the second and creates a smoke curtain to distort the vision. Haruto asks Satsuki to dissipate the fog with his elementals. Feet are trapped by the boss's magic, immobilizing his friends in distress. Haruto gets mad. Anger drives him, channels energy, turns Super Saiyan and throws himself into the fight. With skillful grunt and awakened senses, he defeats the dungeon boss, who disappears. Then they go to see Satsuki, but she gets angry again and leaves them without saying much. At the top of the tower, Asahi finds in the box the gem of red crystal that made her faint before. Curious, she takes it to examine, but Takanori appears and tears it from her. Asahi asks her to return it, but Takanori reveals that she remembers that she fainted when he touched her. He reprimands Haruto for being a beta male, unable to protect, and warns him not to get involved with her anymore. Takanori believes Asahi is his, as he prepared to save her version of the game and decided to stay with her forever. It is obvious that Asahi cannot leave. Takanori golden standard of the simps, staying by her side in the game forever. Haruto refuses to give up and prepares to fight for her. The two then isolate themselves for a duel. Satsuki intervenes in time and prevents them. She even points the gun at Takanori and tells him to retreat. The army tries to protect him, but he ends up withdrawing for Asahi. He reprimands Satsuki for not being reminding her that they should be partners in the crime. Satsuki doesn't understand what he means, warns Haruto that things will never be the same again. Asahi asks Takanori to help her find Nozomi refuses to help or join Subaru Takanori has an ego as great as the elephant and thinks he is superior to everyone else. The scene changes to Takanori's office to betray aligning himself with the Southern Cross and the Brio Society. Fears that they want Asahi, but Takanori clarifies they only want his prophetic art, not to harm her. It is revealed that the superior guilds seek supremacy. Some of these guilds, such as Groz's and Hades, permission to contact the game's operator directly. Takanori believes that, aligning with the Brio Society, and they can beat those who challenge them. Shortly after, representatives of the three guilds arrive at the Illuminati castle to seal the alliance. Meanwhile, in the real world, Satsuki has a dream that helps why her. Takanori referred to them as partners. She remembers that he had been in the forest for 6 years, watching Haruto and Asahi exchange rings to him that day. Although the two had never talked about it, up with this realization and doesn't believe to understand her current reality. Scene then changes to Haruto and Asahi looking for clues about Clive and Nozomi. Unfortunately, they find nothing and are disappointed. While arguing, Haruto comments on the fragility of his sword in combat. Asahi asks about the paid sword he had, and Haruto it would be ideal to have that unbreakable weapon again. Later, Satsuki joins them in the search. While they explore, a dense fog arises, ambushed by members of rival guilds. The fog causes the trio to separate and be teleported to different locations. Asahi sees face to face with the annoying Takanori of the Illuminati. Haruto is confronted by members of the Brilli Society and his leader, Meanwhile, Satsuki is surrounded by angels. It is then revealed that the three guilds, Illuminati, South formed an official alliance and now work together under the name Brilli Society delivers a message to Satsuki sent specifically by Takanori. Takanori states that everyone happy if Asahi remained logged in forever. He believes that in this reality, he will have Asahi and Satsuki, his ideal Haruto in the real world. He tries to persuade Satsuki to surrender. However, after hearing this bizarre and desperate message, Satsuki refuses. She escapes the ambush, invoking elemental attacks and counterattacking the enemy. Meanwhile, Haruto defends himself. Leo's offer for the Brilli Society again. He is soon dominated, but Alicia arrives in time to rescue him. She uses her arrow skills to block the enemies, giving Haruto a chance to escape. Takanori makes Asahi sleep like a baby while the adults make purchases to protect her. However, some members of the Brilli Society betray him under secret orders from their leader, and manage to kidnap Asahi while Takanori is betrayal shocks him because it was done right under his nose. The alliance between Illuminati and Brilli Society is publicly announced. The three guilds unite to form a new super guild called Divine. They declare their union to the players' reunion, affirming superiority over the Divine others. Also announces that it now has the prophetic art and that its strength has reached new levels. They encourage the players of the game to join their powerful guild. Upon seeing the announcement, Haruto realizes that Divine betrayed Takanori. Immediately decides to rescue Asahi. With his hero complex, insists on going alone. Tells Satsuki that she is not in herself today and she stay and wait while he solves the mission. Shortly after, Haruto goes to the place where Asahi is captive. He comes across a massive number of members of Divine, with more than 3,000 soldiers on his way. Chances, he prepares to fight, invoking his inner Spartan. In the next scene, we are led to a flashback of Satsuki's She remembers a meeting of the group with a powerful enemy in a dungeon. It was the first time Asahi used her prophetic art. This only allowed her to predict the enemies, helping the group to take advantage. They thought Asahi was just a draw, shocked to realize that she could predict the future. Thanks to her guidance, and frankly to the cheat code, Haruto and the others managed to defeat the monster. To the flashback, Satsuki begins to doubt herself. Even being able to invoke elemental powers, her skills are not enough for the power of prophecy. A tear falls from her eye and the group perceives her Asahi hugs her and kindly encourages her to say what she thinks. Reveals that she has always been jealous of Satsuki. Exhausted whenever Haruto praised Satsuki's skills, Asahi also wanted to support Haruto. That may be now why she acquired her prophetic ability. She asks Satsuki not to put Haruto where he has to choose between them. With Asahi's kind words, Satsuki regains confidence to continue fighting for what is right. To the present, Satsuki asks Takanori for help to rescue Asahi. Made her realize that Asahi is her rival, as she wants to protect Takanori. On the other hand, is furious and desperate, informs him that Haruto once again went ahead to rescue Asahi alone. Coldly insists that he would rather die not to have any more ties with the others. Satsuki calmly reminds him that everyone is Subaru, but he still refuses to give up. Haruto is hit by a powerful angelic attack, but absorbs the blow and survives. He faces several divine members alone, but is dominated by Bonnie Blue with 100 friends and is captured. Divine army hangs him in the sky using a magic chain, the hollow draconic, created to contain colossal dragons. When everything seemed lost, Satsuki and Takanori arrive at the battlefield and free Haruto from his ties. It turns out that Takanori finally agreed. Although there are still tensions over Asahi, the three now fight together. The trio defeats the remaining enemies. The chamber where Angelus keeps Asahi captive. Inside the chamber of the Bright Society, Angelus appears with Asahi and Haruto launch an attack, but Angelus reverse, using Asahi's prophetic art controlling her unconscious mind. He predicts each move, with the battle escalating. Takanori suspended in the air by a molecular decomposition. His powers are nullified and he is completely defenseless. Angelus reveals with presumption that he orchestrated his consciousness, forcing her to use his prophecy to serve his goals. He also explains that the walls of the chamber that suppress elemental making it difficult for Satsuki to invoke many of his abilities to rescue Asahi, but is intercepted. The leader of the Southern Cross. Leas now knows Haruto's attack patterns, allowing him to avoid each blow. Faces a worthy battle for the first time and gets hurt, leaving Satsuki alone against the remaining enemies. Saddened to see Asahi with her mind controlled and her emotions, Satsuki reaches a new level of determination. Her inner senses and invokes all the elemental the total power of the elements. With this overwhelming force, she releases an wave that defeats almost all members of the opponents, leaving only Angelus and Leas standing. At the same time, Takanori is released from his molecule, and Asahi awakens from his unconscious state. Blow, Angelus invokes a terrible entity in his palm, the one with the pants, formed resentment, fear, and anger at countless defeated players. Transfers part of it to Leas, who begins to transform into a huge and sinister beast. At that moment, a fragment of red stone appears in front of the group. The team unites to destroy the monster. Haruto commands the fight and transports the beast to a remote space using his power of elemental invocation. Unleashes the final blow with his sword in a dimension this marks beyond the end of Leas, while the beast disappears and dissolves Angelus in the air. Stunned, his limited mind unable to understand what happened. While Satsuki's magic bends and Takanori's divine sense controls Haruto has the unique ability to slice hundreds of this dimensions. Powerful combo is a special blow once used by the original final moments of the battle, forces Angelus to kneel for taking Asahi from him. Kills him burning alive, swearing never to let anyone hurt his friend again. Asahi asks Takanori to return the red gem. When she touches it, the whole group receives an extended version of the ones they saw before. It turns out that Asahi is part of a failed experiment. Notes the party ring on Takanori and begs him to return to the group. Takanori still decides to act at a family party and finally refuses to meet with Subaru. After a while, the girls decide that they've enough and start having fun in the ocean. They invite Haruto to join them, but refuses, although the two seem quite dazzling. Instead, he plays from afar, spitting water at them as if he had a DSD. The girls laugh, having fun and flirting subtly with him. Shortly after, the group sets sail for the Lost Pentagon. The goal is to recover the legendary unbreakable sword for Haruto. The guide of the day is Miss Ida. Haruto had already reported rumors of an sword at the bottom of the sea in the Lost Pentagon. Ida confirms that the sword is real, untouched, and in the seabed, and that many players failed to recover it. When they arrive, the trio embark on a separate boat and say goodbye to the area is no man's land, or they must be careful. Out like a boring restaurant customer. The group quickly dives into the sea in search of the sword. After a time submerged, the time to breathe comes. Asahi sees a bright jewel in the distance, and they swim to it and find the legendary sword, Pades. Haruto soon recognizes the same one who wielded it in the first version of the game. The girls encourage him to pull the sword, realize they're talking about the sword. As he tries, an underwater earthquake shakes the ground. Agar, the dragon king of the Dead Sea, appears before hears the legends of a dragon the sword and immediately prepares to fight. Fighting underwater is extremely difficult, and the dragon is too powerful for them. As soon as Agari swallows Asahi, Clive emerges without saying anything. He leaves soon, like teenager who wants to be Sigma at all costs. The next day, the group discusses Clive's sudden appearance. Although they find it strange that he has not greeted, they agree that this behavior is typical of him. A note explaining that he had something to solve and would see them later reveals that Clive was careless and unmotivated with the Subaru. Back in the real world, Haruto and Satsuki visit Takanori at home. He welcomes them and, like an annoying offers them to ask for food from his servant. Surprisingly, asks for several himself with a banquet that includes, according to her, are the favorites of the elemental queen. Takanori blurts out how strange since they met Asahi in the game. Satsuki quickly notices that rumors have spread, which leads Takanori to explain that a Gnosis is pulling the strings in the background. Satsuki recognizes Gnosis as one of the high-ranking in the first version of the game. Haruto also knows Gnosis, whose name sounds like Aid, and remembers his secrecy and obscurity. To his shock, Takanori reveals that whoever tried to expose was not only erased from the game but also died in the real world. Takanori tried to track the location in the game, but the records were erased. He believes that, although Gnosis is a virtual guild, its influence extends dangerously to reality. The trio agree not to tell Asahi so as not to worry, as she already acts like a 7-year-old child. Takanori also believes that the sword had been entrusted to the dragon. He suspects it to be the same sword Haruto used until the last moments of the game. Haruto felt great familiarity when he touched it, and is more determined to take it from Igya. Before closing, Takanori shares one last theory. The red stone is the key to all mysteries. After holding it in the game, he can't get away from that Asahi's body still exists in the real world. The vision of the red stone showed experiments on Asahi outside the game. Haruto and Sasuke clash with the revelation, are soon interrupted by Takanori's curved secretary. She informs them that Nozomi has returned and her location has been traced. Takanori is caught by surprise and tries to explain himself in front of his friends on another sword recovery mission. She leaves them again, but Clive appears before she leaves. With Clive's help, they try again to recover the sword. Uniting Clive's metamorphosis to Satsuki's magic, the team dives again. Thanks to magic, they no longer struggle to breathe in the sea. The sea dragon reappears, and with the support of Clive and the group's efforts, they defeat him. The girls move away from Clive and Haruto while the sword is recovered. In an unexpected turnaround, Clive betrays Haruto. He reveals himself to Judas, stabbing Haruto in the back, trying to take the sword. And Satsuki see the horror. Asahi screams in terror when she sees her boyfriend's blood on Clive's blade. Later, Haruto wakes up in a hospital bed. He is received by Asahi, who informs him that he has been in a coma for 6 years, died defending Nozomi. Haruto thinks he may have taken an overdose of some recreational drug. Understand what surrounds him, until she clarifies that this is an alternative reality created by Asahi's character perished instead of Asahi's. Alicia reveals that Union was created as a field of tests to experience the senses, seeking to create the supreme sense applicable in the real world. Haruto then finds Asahi, who seems if he had not gone crazy and altered reality. After stating that this reality is not his place, transported back to the moment before Clive's attack. His visions become reality, allowing him to deflect Clive's realizing that Clive's actions contradict his loyalty to a friend. Understands that this Clive is an imposter. Forces the attacker to reveal his identity. In response, the false Clive unmasks himself as Simon, a Gnosis member on a mission to eliminate the Subaru Simon team. Merges with R, the colossal dragon, and attacks the group. He captures Satsuki and tries to coerce Asahi to awaken his sense. However, Asahi is rescued by Alvida, who reveals himself with as this the real Clive. The team's spirit rises explosion of hope, like the one who discovers they repeatedly attack the dragon, but it accumulated more strength and power than they can handle. Launches a devastating attack on everyone except Haruto. While the dragon struggles to annihilate them, Clive and Satsuki make a dramatic entrance, driven by the clouds. They claim to have survived the attack thanks to Satsuki's elemental wind and Clive's ability to change shape, allowed them to become lightning bolts to avoid damage. Then begins a coordinated attack against Asahi, the beast. Raised by friends, hits the dragon's throat directly. With Clive, they help Haruto to revive the legendary sword. With his power, Haruto slays Rata as she shatters Satsuki's heart several times in his life. After the battle, the group embarks on reveals, having one of the red stones that fell from the dragon. The fragment, Asahi has a hallucinating
as if she
vision.
were
In a dark disco at 3 in the morning. The vision reveals a room of past experimentation. And this time she clearly sees the same suspicious individuals gathered around her. Alicia helps her, and Asahi discovers that her sense of these suspicious individuals. The red stone that contained it broke. Now believes that the fragment they have is a piece of that broken stone. Later, everyone, along with Clive, tell him everything, including the truth about based on them. Clive explains to the other fools that he had already been what he learned with Alicia about Gnosis and Haruto Union. Also tells them that he met Alicia and would meet her for a while, as there is no girl he doesn't know. Satsuki and Asahi, in their usual childish behavior, provoke him and question if he has a complicated relationship with Alicia. After, the group receives a notification and the girls are obviously excited for the party. Later in the game, Satsuki appears wanting to talk to Haruto alone. She seems nervous but excited at the same time, so she confesses her feelings for Haruto, saying that she loves him since elementary and asks him to invite her to the party. Him to make a decision the event night because, like a brain, she has no patience. Feels emotionally trapped, put in a difficult situation, and spends the rest of the night trying to decide which to boink for the rest of his life. He reflects looking at old photos of Satsuki and Asahi's childhood. He receives a message from Takanori asking him to go to Asahi's grave in the real world and not in the virtual world of the game. Haruto and Takanori meet in Asahi's grave. Instead of something serious, Takanori tells that he will invite Asahi to the party. And a discussion breaks out. They discuss who protected Asahi the most and who deserves her love. Takanori even shows Haruto the pink flowers carrying in her grave for years, justifying that he deserves her more. Both admit that they love her. However, Haruto gets serious and punches Takanori, declaring this makes Takanori leave, and before leaving, he buries symbolically the party abandoning his romantic feelings for Asahi. Although he remains on the team, he will no longer compete with Haruto for leaving the reproduction for the alpha. At the dance party, Haruto meets Satsuki and makes his choice. He kindly refuses her invitation to dance, expressing his decision by Asahi. Takanori approaches Satsuki and invites her to dance. Meanwhile, Haruto finds Asahi alone in a corner. He approaches her and invites her to dance. She accepts happily, and the two begin to dance with each other. In the real world, Nozomi remembers when Takanori helped her in elementary school. That she has feelings for him. This explains why she has always felt nervous and shy around Takanori being completely ugly and unbearable. When his name is called at the party, she also remembers the first time she met Haruto, Satsuki and Asahi helped her along with Takanori and have been close friends. Soon Nozomi decides to join the meeting and sees the dance party going on. Is so bad that the first thing she sees after Takanori dancing with Satsuki, misinterpreting the situation. She assumes they are together, hiding so they don't see her before running away. She wanders the city, revisiting old places she frequented. But before she can process her emotions, Nozomi is confronted by two Gnosis agents. A scary duo, dressed as clowns, demands that she join their organization. In the real world, Haruto, Satsuki and Takanori go to Nozomi's house. A call from her mother, who informs her of her daughter's disappearance. Haruto nervously asks Satsuki how she is after the dance. She replies that everything is fine. Flashbacks reveal that she has been crying until she has slept. The group arrives at Nozomi's house. Upon revising her room, they discover that Nozomi had logged into the game before her mother claims that she had gone out to shop. Which the group concludes when Nozomi was busy with herself or logged into the meeting during the party. Takanori asks Clive to track her and determine her current location. Clive manages to identify her mysterious place called the dungeon from the base sky. The group takes Asahi and follows, reaching the dragon's fortress. The place looks like it came from a fairy tale. Haruto analyzes the year, confirming that it was built in a world of dreams. Since the castle floats in the sky, shortly before entering the fortress, the group has a flashback of when they fought together in this flashback. They battled an anaconda and with the help of Nozomi and Asahi's prophetic bow. However, they did not follow the prophet's instructions. Haruto, in particular, disobeyed as usual. He is an idiot used to acting as a hero, not attacking from above as instructed. After the fight, Asahi reprimanded him for ignoring his guidance, that he wanted to try something different they had time. Asahi insisted that following his prophecy was still essential. Haruto kept his belief of not being trusting in prophetic art only when necessary. Back to the present, the group enters the fortress in search of Nozomi. They are attacked by their family monsters, who look like an American Post diet. These giant monsters surround and attack Nozomi is a dream mage, and this ability allowed him to build and rule the castle. After defeating the giant dolls, the group finally meets she looks Nozomi. Completely different from the girl they met. She is like those studious girls from school who suddenly go abroad and transform. She is dressed in a more seductive way and begins to harshly reprimand Takanori and Satsuki, who find this quite erotic for some reason. Although she doesn't say what they did to hurt her, her when anger is clear. Asahi alive, she expresses disbelief, releasing a disturbing laugh. Takanori advances and questions if she is really the Nozomi during they once exchange met. Nozomi's kidnappers, the dream mage, and Mashin, a divine champion, at the fortress as low-budget villains from a detective Nozomi soon admits having joined Gnosis and reveals that the castle was built by her and Shantis. At this point, the battle begins. The Subaru group attacks the villains, avoiding hurting despite Nozomi. The efforts. They are so weak that they do not hit Shantis or Mashin, whose powers absorb and nullify their blows. In the midst of the chaos, Asahi tries to approach, repeatedly calling her to talk to her. Nozomi says that her anger is not for a child who should have matured, but when Satsuki tries to comfort Nozomi shows her dark side and begins to mock and intimidate her. Being the young ones, continues to cling to the old friendship cliche. Continues to complain to Nozomi even when things get worse when Nozomi casts a curse while Asahi is distracted. The curse of the two snakes slides into Asahi's neck. Asahi screams uncontrollably, and in an excess of pain and confusion, she immediately that she hates Haruto. It is visibly evident that she is getting weak, confused, and disoriented by what just happened. Know that Asahi is a big fan and would never speak ill of her boyfriend. That she cursed Asahi to be dragged by a minister's dream. And Machin approached Nozomi and declared that Asahi will soon be dead. When they leave, the castle of dreams falls apart, falling on the shocked as group. If the builder had stolen the funds. After retreating to the base, Asahi regains consciousness and finds Haruto next to her. He is very worried about her and the evils she said during the battle. The group regroups and tries to find out what went wrong. Takanori, Haruto and Satsuki the real world, while Clyde stays with Asahi. The marks of the snake bite are still visible on Asahi's neck. And of course the problems have just begun. Back in the real world, the trio meets to discuss the where they had in the dream castle. Satsuki, being the empathic person she is and the only one with a brain in the Nozomi may have been jealous of Takanori. She always seemed nervous when his name was mentioned. Takanori realizes that Nozomi liked him danced with Satsuki at the party made her run away. Concludes that Gnosis found her in and explored her emotional fragility. The three are dumbfounded and disoriented. Their sense of time and space is distorted. Haruto suspects they were poisoned, perhaps by the cakes or drinks they drank before. They soon discover that their perceptions were manipulated. At this moment, a member of Gnosis appears the Subaru team for bringing Asahi here. Now Gnosis declares that she will take over because they are parasites who like to take advantage of other people's success. A flashback where the senses of union can be used not only but also in the real world. He begins to understand that the senses of vision transcend the game, working in reality. This revelation leads Haruto and the others to return to the game for the truth. Asahi wakes up from a nightmare at the base. She is so obsessed with the guy who mistreated her that even in her dream, she and Haruto fought plan to defeat a monster with her prophetic art was altered by Haruto in the last leading to a confrontation between the two. When they wake up from the dream, the others return to the game and find her ask if she's okay or if something strange. She hides that she had a nightmare. The group updates Clive and Asahi about what they found in the real world. Intelligence of a seventh-year difficulty believing that her sense can be used outside the game. Seems familiar with the idea. He says that Alice once told him the same, that she was trying to awaken all the senses of Subaru. Their base is destroyed, forcing them to evacuate. a mysterious dungeon
which they
recognize as the Whitewater Spirit Tower. It is almost identical to the dungeon in the first version of Reunion. Everyone looks at each other for a while as they go deeper into the dungeon. Haruto notices Asahi's neck and asks if she has another man to give her chance. Instead of responding immediately, she acts and avoids the question, running to the others. They soon realize that Asahi's senses are defective. The snake's bite seems to have triggered the problem, making his unreliable prophetic Asahi, who was suddenly behaving like a child, like a pragmatic adult, and loses his patience. She claims it can be something else completely, and they focus on finding Nozomi instead of worrying about suggests retreating, but Asahi runs deeper into the dungeon. As they advance, the group realizes that they are dungeon where they lost the game and where Asahi died. Meanwhile, Asahi remains disoriented, haunted by the nightmare of a party night where she and Haruto fought. Soon after, the group finds Nozomi, that she was the one who destroyed their base. Asahi confronts her, asking why she would do. Base keeps her childhood memories. Nozomi doesn't care about those memories, like a villain, continues summoning several relatives to attack. During the fight, she turns into a monstrous beast, growing and looking unstoppable. As if this problem wasn't big enough, my neck is going to break. Santos and Martian also arrive and join the fight alongside Nozomi that she will disintegrate the entire area with, and the villains launch powerful attacks. The team runs to help Takanori, defending themselves from everyone. The joins the defense except Asahi, who screams uncontrollably, again as if possessed by a 16th century witch. As before, while the rest of the group dodges attacks and fights Nozomi, Takanori decides to confront her personally. Enters in total Chad mode, intentionally avoiding her attacks to get closer. Eventually, he manages to attract her to the dungeon level where they can talk. In particular, Nozomi attacks him at first, hitting him to get him away, but there is nothing romantic between him and Satsuki. She begins to calm down, a memory of her childhood when Takanori comforted her and encouraged her, even though she was the one who almost destroyed everything that existed. It is Takanori who apologizes. He apologizes for not recognizing her, promising to stay by her side from now on and never leave her again. Help remove the darkness that dominated her. Takanori is freed from the evil. This triggers a great awakening in Nozomi, and she seems with light, floating smoothly in the air, finally free. Back to the upper level, things take a sudden and tragic course. Asahi, now completely overloaded and influenced by her defective senses, shoots Haruto. Meanwhile, we go back a little to resume. Takanori and still Naomi talk in the dungeon. The fight continues up there. Santos and Machen attack the Subaru group, but the heroes revive with determination. On one side, Satsuki, with his elementals, dispels attacks in half-naked lighters in men throwing money. Clive changes his form and attacks is also from various positions, but Asahi, by his altered senses, suddenly orders him to stop. He ignores the order because he has never heard a woman in his life. It is unlikely that she would order him not to fight an enemy. Asahi was altered by Serena's, Santos, by the bite of the snake. Their plan has a sinister twist. When Haruto refuses to obey her, Asahi turns the nightmare into reality. Deep rancor against him comes to the fore, and she shoots Haruto. In a shocking twist of events, Asahi shoots his lover. Haruto falls to the ground, and Asahi immediately realizes what he did. She runs to his side, herself crying as if this were to change something that screams that she thought all this was in our dreams, and that's why she pulled the trigger. The anime's plot armor begins to manifest. Goddess inside her awakens, just as Santos and Machen had planned. Like every villain in the universe, they create a distorted paradise in the midst of chaos. Asahi begins to shine with radiance, and no one can get close to her. Marciano lifts her up in the air and holds her in a diamond-shaped gift she bought on the side of the road to keep her away from others. Takanori and Nozomi run to her, realizing Naomi that she made a big mistake out of jealousy. Remembers the curse she cast on Asahi, and knowing that survival is low, she should have taken responsibility and done the right thing. Girl, she surrenders to guilt and self-reproach. Fortunately, the sensible Takanori persuades her to continue. They follow Asahi. In the chaos, Serenus attacks Clive and go well on the other side either, as Satsuki is to focus on the elemental kings to save Haruto's life, but she can't. Clive is saved by Alicia, out of nowhere like herpes, and attacks Santos. The villains planned to kill her, but before they did, the diamond container with Asahi crumbled. The goddess in Asahi shines more than ever, shouts a terrible cry, and the scene becomes a vision. In this vision, Haruto sees himself in a dark space. He meets Asahi, who who no longer shines. This is a mental space, a vision between them. Haruto promises her that he will be stronger to protect her. The vision also reveals what really happened. The blow that seemed to have hurt her was actually aimed at her. Behind her. The scene had been distorted, and Ai now sees the truth clearly and realizes that Haruto was always by her side. Haruto regains consciousness, full steam, his senses like his morning erection after seeing forbidden photos. Serenos and Masha make one last desperate attack to Haruto's awakened sense allows him to easily counterattack with the help of his team, including a powerful assistance. They defeat Santos and Masha once after the battle. For all. We have a brief glimpse of who has orchestrated everything behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Nozomi apologizes for the problem he caused, especially for calling her names as if she was still in middle school instead of being an adult. She was under the influence and never intended to hurt anyone. Satsuki forgives her, and the group returns the attention to Alicia, saving them. But she, like a false, says that their own strength led them to victory. Asahi, in particular, holds Alicia's hand and thanks her for saving her life. Gives Haruto a new wand for his sword. The wand made by Nozomi with his sense of dreams has 7 jewels. Alicia explains its meaning. Subaru, the name of the guild, is a stellar agglomerate with 6 visible stars, sometimes 7. No one knows the complete legend. Before they ask more, Alicia disappears in the air as her salary after the 3rd day. Back to reality, Nozomi wakes up Takanori and is a little wet under the sheets. It's the first time they've seen each other Takanori in 6 takes years. Over Aries as an online says dating. He'll rescue her once and for all. He promises to love her and never leave her Naomi again. Hugs him. Takanori quickly warns the others about Naomi's safety. Meanwhile, Satsuki is in the bedroom sleeping and doesn't receive an invitation to meet at the game the next day. Haruto proudly grabs the Subaru party his ring. Sisters notice him different and happier. He says it's for his friends and shows the ring and his RV equipment. Later, the group returns to the game and embarks on their first mission as a guild, complete missions, and become stronger with each success. Nozomi and Asahi plan the next base for the group. In a shocking twist, it's revealed that Alicia is the 7th member of Subaru. Gnosis actions begin to be exposed to the public. Do you think Gnosis will be destroyed forever by this exhibition? Or do they still have another card in their sleeve? If you want us to cover the 2nd season of anime, comment Haruto is not Naruto. Until then, subscribe, like, and share this video with all your friends.